Welcome back to the Convo Couch, everyone. Pasta Jardula here.
And I'm Fiorella.
And Johnny Sue is still spinning on those ones and twos. Guys, right away, hit the like, share button. The suppression has been going nuts, and we know it's Black Friday, and all of you might be out there shopping, trying to buy a nice shirt like this.
I hope not.
For the show.
That's... I'm not a fan of your shirt, fam. I'm sorry.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm a fan of it, and
as long as you like it, that's fine.
Loud and proud, baby, loud and proud. And we had a great Friendsgiving yesterday. Let me share this with my mom because my mom said, "Send me the show." She had her first Thanksgiving. My mom with her in-laws to be and the baby, and my sister, is now a mom, and I'm an uncle. So she had that first Thanksgiving, and we had our own first vegan Thanksgiving, and I think we pulled it off. No.
I think it was good. I think you definitely improved on that mac and cheese because I wasn't happy with it.
Well, I did a test run right off of the bat, and hold on, I can't get it. There it is. Let me send it to Mom. Okay, I did a test run off the bat, and we found out it was a little too salty, and that's kind of odd because Fiorella does like her salt. However, when you're working with vegan products, they are loaded with a lot of sodium, some of them, and you got to compensate. Making a cashew base for that. It was too salty, but it gave me the information to nail it on the second night, and I think it's been established. You can have a great vegan Thanksgiving with great vegan macaroni and cheese, and Pasta is the champion at Disc Dash, right?
Yeah.
Is that called Disc? Yeah, we have that game Disc Dash.
Oh, yeah.
When you pull it back. And
that's because you're not the champion at chess.
I am the champion at Disc Dash, and that's it. Guys, if you're on the Rokfin, Rokfin, thank you so much. We love you guys.
I'm trying to share this on Facebook, and it's like being really weird. It's just showing like that, like no picture, no anything.
Well,
isn't that weird?
Censorship, welcome to America. All the main networks, we were told by Whitney Webb, we're probably not going to be able to use them.
Really strange.
So it's a good chance for you guys right now to go over to Rokfin, Rokfin, subscribe for free. If you got a few extra dollars, you're always welcome to endorse us for $9.99. It gets us our premium content. As well as everybody else's premium content on that platform across the board as well. So you subscribe to one person, you get it all for free. It's a great deal.
This is what shows up when I'm trying to...
Really?
Yeah.
It said something weird when I tried to send it to my mom, and it let me send it already.
I don't know. It's weird. So yesterday we were both on, was it The Vigil or was it... No.
Poikinen Slow Day News.
It was Slow News Day.
Slow Day News.
And Pasta was really loud. Well, Glory got to stream from here, but Pasta was really loud the whole time, and so you could always hear him when,
What's up, Kaden? Share it, baby. No, that's not true. We were having a great time. It was Thanksgiving. We were having fun. I put on my AOC shirt on and my yellow vest hat and went downstairs. My alter ego, my neoliberal character.
Did Steve have a concussion, like an aneurysm when you showed up?
He's like, "What in the holy F is that?" That was Poikin in his reaction to what's going on. So it was a fun time yesterday. It was just awesome.
It was fun.
But we have some things to get back to. Like on Wednesday night, fam, Sidney Powell dropped a case. They had, during our Wednesday show, they had the hearing in Pennsylvania. So there's a few things I want to go over. And I want to just kind of lead, fam, right out there, right off the bat, that half the shit that was in Sidney Powell's lawsuit was good and half of it was full of shit.
Yeah.
And I think we need to talk about this because I also put the old Smartmatic video out there with this, infatuation of going after the ghost of Hugo Chavez, if he's to blame. Now, listen, I'm not saying that he maybe didn't try to game his own election. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that's irrelevant to what's going on over here. These are American entities. No, I'm saying these are American entities stealing it from each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I'm saying that he absolutely didn't rig his election because he had the support of all his people in Venezuela. And a lot of people have documented that the gray zone has gone on there. I think Abby Martin went there too and was asking the people in Venezuela during that time. Regarding Maduro and Chavez had the Chavista movement, which was entirely like supported by those people. Now, to connect the issue that Paz is trying to get to is that these machines are entirely completely private, like owned by private corporations, and we can't see in them. So it doesn't matter. They may be in Venezuela, but that doesn't mean a Venezuelan has anything to do with it.
Yeah, smart. I mean, well, it doesn't mean that Chavez's regime has anything to do with it. Right. It's irrelevant. We also know in 2004, Diebold in Ohio stole the election for George Bush, and that was Republican. Sidney Powell doesn't seem to go in that direction, yet she wants to drum up the ghost of Hugo Chavez's past, and nobody wants to listen to a whistleblower who might have been around. It's the same type of CIA hack whistleblowers that were around that told us that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction.
Right.
It's irrelevant. The framework is what's important, and that's something we need to look at. As far as Giuliani's concerned, another asshole of the past. I've said why I don't like Giuliani and what he did back in the days, as far as the prosecutor when he went after the mob and all that shit. And also the fact that he probably is withholding information when it comes to 9/11. There's a lot of questions that he has never answered that he probably knows about. However, what he's going along the lines is he's pointing out what we know as election integrity activists is wrong. I mean, you have to let these ballots be scrutinized. There are state laws, federal laws. You have to abide by them. Is it enough to overturn the election? I have no idea, but I'm glad that it's being brought up because it needs to be talked about. And regardless of not my feelings of Giuliani, these are things that need to come. We need to have a serious discussion about our elections and how do we fix them across the board.
Yeah.
Whether it be Biden or Trump coming out of this. This isn't about Biden or Trump. And, you know, an election integrity activist I know, she said, you should not be partisan whatsoever when it comes to elections. Right. You can't have your TDS making you swing one way. And to think that the Democrats wouldn't steal this from Donald Trump when they've stole it from the Democrats, from Bernie Sanders in particular twice, is just ludicrous to think that they won't play games for themselves, because it is the establishment. You pointed this out a long time ago, fam. I was a little bit late to recognize, I don't know. But then you see those Republicans on the right that are kind of forming together with the establishment. You got some rogue people on the outside on both sides. I'd like to know more, but I'd like to see more on the left come out rogue.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the establishment is going to do what they can do to keep people in power. And as we know, the Democratic Party would rather deal with Donald Trump than have Bernie Sanders, but they still want power back themselves, the establishment, and they're not happy with Trump and they want him out.
So. And so just to reiterate on this point, what seems to be going on is Sidney Powell is pursuing lawsuits independently for supposedly exposing the nefarious actions within the entire, within our entire government. Whereas Giuliani is focusing on the mail-in ballots and that process. He is like an official lawyer for Trump. She never signed a retainer, and she is doing the outside work, and she is also focusing on the machines and that sort of avenue. Yeah. And of course, I disagree with both of their ideology and their little spin narratives that they're trying to do. But outside of the ideology, which is my opinion, like something they should never focus on, we need to really look into these elections. 100%.
She does say that the other companies that control the software, they can do the same thing, and I appreciate when she does that. I just hate the whole the right-wing version of their Russiagate, which is the Hugo Chavez ghost of Hugo Chavez's past. It's just stupid. When we understood that Smartmatic dead-ended in Venezuela, but you know what I'm saying? Venezuela's had a lot of corporatists hanging out there trying to fight against the Chavez regime for many years. So who's to say that they're not just flipping this thing around? You know what I'm saying? Who cares? It doesn't make a difference. You never bring up other situations where it happened in the United States in 2004. George Bush, Ohio. Everybody knows about that. All the election integrity activists know about that. So even though I do appreciate some of the language and some of the stuff coming up front, I am not fooled. Half of it is for real. Half of it is bullshit.
You have to sift through it.
You have to sift through it. But it is important that we talk about it because we know how awful these things, and especially with everything that's been going on in Los Angeles and the work that Johnny's doing. There's more information coming to fruition on that. You know, there's a lot of people out here, a lot of candidates, Republican candidates I've been talking to that are ready to file lawsuits as well. It's not just about the Democrats. It's a partisan issue. The establishment's going to try to keep power, so let's keep peeling into it. So let's get to the hearing. We were actually doing a show while the hearing was going on. That's why we couldn't really report on it, because it was going on as we were doing the show. So here we are on Friday, a couple days later. You've probably seen a lot of this all over the internet or over Facebook or Twitter or wherever you go. I'm sure there was a hell of a lot of it on Parler. I'm sure they were going nuts with this stuff, but there were some points they were pointing out. Now this is interesting too, fam, because this is a new election. It's COVID. Mm-hmm. They shotgun out all these mail-in ballots. There's a lot of people going back and saying, wait a second, you weren't allowed to do that legally in states. And in fact, in California, from what I heard from some of these Republicans, that they're going to protest that they didn't have a right to send out mail-in ballots to people unless they requested them. So that's what they're going to argue. They can't do that in Wisconsin. So let's take a look. This is, now we talk about mathematical anomalies, right, fam? Mm-hmm. There are people out there who's like, well, other than mathematical anomalies, can you give me another example of evidence of where the election was stolen? Well, I really have a hard time with you moving on away from mathematical anomalies. It was the difference if there was one mathematical anomaly. There was like 10 of drop votes, of big numbers coming in, of glitches, of things that should never happen. And in about 7 states, 8 states, more information is coming forward. So let's take a look at this one particular mathematical anomaly that happened in Pennsylvania and listen to the way the crowd reacts.
Says on election day, so at the very beginning of the chart where there's a circle, it says on election day. What that indicates is there is a spike in loaded votes, 337,000 plus or minus of some votes that were added in there in one big batch. So that was an anomaly in the reporting. Normally, you would expect to see a smooth curve going up, not any big spikes. That's kind of what Greg was talking about, the anomalies of loading and uploading those votes. So that big spike that occurs there is a prime indicator of fraudulent voting.
And that's 604,000 votes in 90 minutes, is that right?
Correct. This is 337 votes, 337,000 votes in that
period of time.
Yes.
And when you look at this entire curve with all these spikes, can you calculate how much of a vote that accounted for Biden and how much for Trump?
Close to 600,000. I think our figures were about 570 some odd thousand that all those spikes represent over time.
For Biden?
Correct.
And how much for Trump?
I think it was a little over 3,200.
One of the persons who did the data analysis, I don't know what the hell is going on over there, fam. That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm trying to share something, and Facebook is like calling it fake news. Calling this show fake news.
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess what I'm saying. Some of the data analysis, and these are some of the testimonies from some of the people who were election officials that were shut out, that were pushed aside, that got wind of what was going on. They're giving their testimony. This is evidence right now. Now, once again, is this enough to overturn stuff? But they said it was a dump of 600,000 ballots and 577,000 of them. Mm-hmm. And this was in a short amount of time. Once again, it was either that big dump, and it was like something like 577,000 all for Biden.
Yeah, it's an anomaly, but it's also a statistical improbability. I mean, when you talk about a lightning striking twice, I mean, that's the kind of thing that you're expecting, these numbers that these people are believing. And if, regardless of how you feel about either candidate, pretending that that's not suspect is really disingenuous, especially when people who are aware of this software and understand the way these machines work, understand that these machines have been absolutely the machines in general have been absolutely horrible, but the election, the machines used to look at the signature, they weren't verifying the signatures in the proper way. And also people were only having a less than a 1% audit, if that. And most of the time it wasn't even required to hand count these ballots to verify the signature. So
Los Angeles, they threw the AI machine. It's kind of like the company that I don't know if they're Periscript that Whitney Webb talked about. Like, they're not being scrutinized, but there's other states like in Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin, they get a little bit more stringent on the rules. You can't just use a machine like they do here in LA, because everybody's in la la land, and they have to be scrutinized properly, have to be looked over, and that's the way it goes. Now, it's a unique election with COVID and them shotgunning out all these mail-in ballots, and it was really kind of difficult because a lot of people are saying, we talked about some of these lawsuits, Johnny, that are going to come up where, I was talking to Raji, and Raji says, well, when it comes to the mail-in ballots and stuff, and you have to go and protest that before the election, saying that's illegal to do that, right? However, it was hard to work the courts with COVID and everything like that, so a lot of stuff has been swept under the rugs, where they're going to be protesting stuff that normally would have been protested before the election, because you can get into the courts now, a whole different situation. So it's just a unique mess across the board. The next one I have, kind of what, the New Hampshire thing, the how do you access these machines? How do you change them? You can change them with a USB cord. You can access them remotely. Here's an election official that was around, and I want to give a big up to Sergio Gentile over here, who shared the tweet. The guy must have started an account just on Twitter to go clip up some of the Pennsylvania hearing and show us all. Thank you. Take a listen to this. And Johnny, I want your opinion on this situation because you have a lot of insight when it comes to this.
Ballots, the election day USB V card flash drives, in all cases, the chain of custody and the procedures that were defined by the Delaware County Board of Elections and Election Process Review they didn't follow one. I couldn't even redline this multi-page document because the entire document would be, they didn't follow any of the procedures. So I personally observed USB V cards being uploaded to the voting machines by the voting machine warehouse supervisor on multiple occasions. I saw this personally. I brought it to the attention of the deputy sheriff who was there stationed, who was a senior law enforcement officer, and I brought it to the attention of the clerk of elections. I brought it to their attention. I objected, and I said, this person is not being observed. He's not part of the process that I can see. And he's walking in with baggies, which we have pictures of, and it was submitted in our affidavits, and he was sticking these USBs into the machines. So I personally witnessed that happen 24 times, over 24 times. We have multiple other witnesses that saw it, including Democrat poll watchers. And we were told, I was told the next day by the solicitors, well, actually not the solicitor, but the attorney that we had secured, that they said every election they leave a couple of USBs in the voting machines and they're brought back, and generally the warehouse manager comes over and puts them in. So in talking to the U.S. Attorney General McSwain and other law enforcement officers, I found out that was not the case, that generally, more than two is unusual. So they denied they did it, but as of today, 47 USB V cards are missing, and they're nowhere to be found. So I was told personally that these 24 to 30 cards that were uploaded weren't there. Those cards, I demanded that they didn't update the vote live time. They only updated it about once every 2 or 3 hours. I demanded.
Johnny, what can you do with a USB cord to go into these machines?
I mean, USB has files, and you can do with USB. There's memory there. You can put fake ballots into the servers. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know. You guys have seen my video, right? Where I found the USBs, and actually this time around, they had walls over their in that little station I zoomed in on in this video. Let me see real quick.
What is the station over
That's
there?
outreach, isn't it?
What's the station over there with the computers?
Yeah.
What station is that? Is that like a...
So that's where all the information that's coming from these tally machines are going over there.
Okay. All right.
So that's where you're compiling all of the numbers.
Right. And they're connected to the internet?
No. They're connected to these devices.
Okay. Well, it kind of looks like...
So...
If they get the results, then...
And it's funny, Johnny, because in the next segment, we're going to talk about that right off the jump, because it was listed in Sidney Powell's lawsuit that it's not allowed to have connectivity to the internet whatsoever. It's against state and federal laws. So right there, that's illegal right there. That's illegal. They cannot do that, because now anybody can remotely access these things, correct?
You don't even have to be there.
I mean, yeah, you can be in Peru.
You can be in freaking Afghanistan.
In Germany.
Hey, Germany.
But anyways, now in the general election, instead of in primary election, I was able to see it. That's what you saw in the video. I was able to see this in the right now in the general. They have walls blocking off everything.
Yeah.
And like they're like transparent, but then like there's like stuff in the way, so you can't see the computers.
That's how they get away with it.
Yeah.
So,
I'd like to have more these machines they're using too. I want to have a little bit more conversations about where they come from and who owns them, whatnot, because there's a little bit of a confusion right now. You know, since the Alex Padilla and Dean Logan, kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Crusade to try to convince people that this is an open source system. You know, where we showed up that day, remember, hey, it's open source, really? Can we get the source code? Oh, we don't have the source code. Well, that's the definition of open source, right? And
they try to say they're really transparent and everything, but I can say with confidence that there is a huge lack of transparency here, and I will always say that there's a huge lack of transparency in the largest county in America.
Yeah.
For their elections.
And it's not about Donald Trump or Joe Biden. It's about these down ballot candidates, these local people that deserve a fair shot, that deserve a fair handshake. This is the most important thing, fam. You know, this is the foundation of our democracy, for our republic, or whatever you want to call it, is the fact that we have elected officials who are representative government. And if they can always cheat, don't be naive to think they'll just cheat Donald Trump. I'm not going to cheat Maria Estrada. No.
We don't have democracy because we don't have fair and transparent elections.
So we're going to dive into a little bit more because once our good friend Brent Turner, who kind of quartered Alex Padilla in a press conference, we got Jeff Klein, somebody else got Dean Logan, and we kept on asking for the source code. Alex Padilla then called a press conference and said, well, it's not the traditional open source where you get the source code and you can look into it. It's not the traditional one. I mean, really, these people, that's not even an obfuscation. That's just a fucking lie.
Yeah.
Sorry for cursing, Mom, but it's just a lie, and that's what they're doing because this is not a true open source system. And inside the contract, it says if you have a complaint, you have to go through Smartmatic, which is who we think owns the machines, who created this and stuff. But so we're going to have more conversations. We're going to do more investigation into this to see what's what, because I know there's a lie and kind of a hoodwink. And, you know, if they hoodwinked you before, they're going to continue to hoodwink you. And the main thing I'd like to see is us get a hold of this software, but I don't think it's ever possible. We'll continue to follow the cases that go on. But Johnny's got some explosive stuff, too, as well, when he's talking about this 1% audit, because it's not an audit. It's not a proper audit, and it's kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
This election, this is the last video from Pennsylvania. Do you have something else to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, is there anything on Wisconsin?
Not on Wisconsin. Okay. This is the last one on Pennsylvania. But I just want to point out this last one because the gentleman got a round of applause because this is something he's saying. He says, listen, and this is what we wanted in 2016, right? Bernie Sanders, this right here. Put your flag down now and let's stand our ground here. The gentleman's saying the same thing. Right now, we cannot move forward and fix anything until we fix this election. So take a look.
Excuse me. All right. Let me finish with this. May I suggest to you that any restoration of faith on the part of Pennsylvanians in our electoral system can and will only be accomplished after an investigation into this election, only after the law is properly applied to this election. The idea that we can just move on by making sure that the law is properly applied in the next election is, in my opinion, unacceptable.
All right. Planting the flag in the ground. That's all I'm saying. We don't move forward. We fix it now. It should have been done in 2016, fam.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, really, really quick. Let's go over this one here because this has been out there. You probably had a lot of time. You know, Wednesday night I started diving into it, but I had to peel eggplant, peel potatoes, and brine stuff to get things ready, so I couldn't get into it too crazy, but I did look over it. It's the lawsuit in Georgia. The highlights it points out, like I said, half of it, it's full of shit. In the beginning, fam, the Hugo Chavez thing. In the end, the Hugo Chavez thing. You know, this mentality, Alex Jones, we got to fight against communism. Like, listen, let's just get our election straight and stop about the whole war between communism and socialism and capitalism and choice and no choice. I think we have to have a conversation about that down the road too, fam, because I want to get your mindset on what we're looking for and what we can come about, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to our system. But anyways, there were some great things in here. And it starts off with one of the things, it's number 16, I believe it is, Johnny, where it talks about at least 9,600 absentee ballots were requested and counted, but were never recorded as being returned to the county election board by the voter. Thus, a minimum of 96,600 votes must be disregarded, the suit says. That's number 16. Now, I want to point out the whole tactic of what they're trying to do. What's going on over here? the tactic in which the Giuliani and the Trump team lawsuit, what they're trying to do is pretty much, and they cited an early case, and somebody was telling me about case law, Johnny. Sometimes you can cite case law, but that means that case might not have won. You're just using it, so it, a lot of discrepancy comes in here. But they're using a case law that says that you can disregard, so you don't have to prove that your ballots are valid. You can prove that your opponent has a lot of invalid ballots, removing the tally, and then therefore changing the election results. I didn't read into that case, but I was kind of looking over the top of it. But that's what it says. Additionally, Evidence Board of Elections records demonstrates that at least 96,600 absentee ballots were requested and counted, but were never recorded as being returned to the county election boards by the voters. Thus, a minimum of 96,600 votes must be disregarded. So once again, fam, she's trying to do the addition by subtraction, take away from Biden's counts, say his ballots never were scrutinized, the mail-ins, and we must invalidate some of them and pull them away. At the same time, she's keeping her eye and she's going after Dominion and Smartmatic and that whole 9 yards and keeping it over there. So that was one point right there. Anything to say about that?
No, go ahead.
All right, so Kemp, the governor, and Raffensperger, the Secretary of State, rushed to purchase the Dominion voting systems and software in 2019 for the 2020 elections without due diligence and disregarded safety concerns. That was in number 12, Johnny, of the document. Just really quick, want to point that out. We did a little story on that before we talked about that. They really rushed through this process. And a lot of voter integrity activists out there in Georgia were screaming, saying, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. They pushed it through. Sidney Powell also, I guess, has information or money that showing money lines that there's some kickbacks. I don't know if she's going to cite that in another lawsuit, but she's pointing out the negligence of them rushing through and pushing this Dominion system through without the proper due diligence. Defendants Kemp and Raffensperger rushed through the purchase of the Dominion voting machines and software in 2019 for the 2020 presidential election. A certificate from the Secretary of State was awarded to Dominion voting systems, but is undated. So similarly, the test report is signed by Michael Walker as the project manager, but is also undated. So she's trying to point out negligence of them pushing through this machine because they have profitable ties to them, that they're helping out their family. Hey, you put in Dominion, we'll give you some scatol, you give it to your fam, the same way that, the whole you scratch our back, we'll scratch yours kind of mentality. And she's trying to point that out in the lawsuit. Now, that's speculation. She's got to prove money ties. But it does cast a shadow of a doubt to the public about these machines in general. So I do like the fact that we have to start looking about who owns these machines and what they're doing.
Right, because that is going on. I mean, millions of dollars were donated by these Periscript, these people involved with the company Periscript, to the Democratic establishment. Yes. So that is something that is true. And when those kinds of vast amounts of money are given to a specific politician, it's not just because they like somebody. It's because they have vested interests that they want this politician to pursue in their favor. So that is in a way opening the door to looking into the machines and who is supporting these machines and who they're backed by and who they're supporting politically. Yeah.
And I think that one of the boards of Smartmatic was on Joe Biden's transition teams. I think that was, what's his name? I was just saying his name. But anyways, I'll look more into that to make sure and kind of tie those lines too as well. The last thing I want to point out real quick from the document, and then because the last two are just, I have to look into the last one and understand the law, but connected to the internet, right? It's against the law. Right. Johnny pointed out, he showed you that tie and that, right? He showed you the cord. Now I want you to read this. Number 9, indeed, under the professional standards within the industry in auditing and forensic analysis, when a log is unprotected and can be altered, it can no longer serve the purpose of an audit log. This physical evidence that standards of physical security of the voting machines and the software were breached and machines were connected to the internet in violation of professional standards and state and federal laws. You are not allowed to have the intranet in there, fam. It's illegal. If you have the intranet, that's the Goomba way of saying internet. It can be hacked. It can be moved. It can be controlled. Right. Maybe it's in Germany. We talked about. We don't know. But once again, that's when Johnny said, what's that Ethernet cord over there? Yo, that's illegal. And when Johnny gave the K. He had the O first and the K. That was him slow going, no, you're not allowed to do that. So
he's much more secretive about that. I'd be like, are you fucking kidding me, woman?
No, John. Okay. Yeah. That was the Johnny moment.
I would have been rolling my eyes like, yeah.
The law also, the lawsuit also points out that Fulton County workers had the claim. Remember the evacuation about the water leak? I want to get some more information. There's some stories. I was looking at that. I want to look into that. But what there was a water leak. They kicked everybody out. Some people stayed behind and did who knows what, and then they were allowed to come back in and finish in their counting. There's a lot of shit going down. Our boy Anomaly did a whole story on that. Like, why don't you send somebody down there to see if that water leak was real? Why don't you send somebody down there? You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people saying it was full of shit. I want to get a little bit more information. Also, the last one they point out is the state officials in the settlement with the Democratic parties made changes to the election procedures that violated both state law and the U.S. Constitution. Once again, harping the same thing in Pennsylvania. The Secretary of State is not allowed to go to a judge and change a law. Only the legislation body, can make that change. So that's, again, what she's citing in the case. There's a lot more things in there. And a lot of the Hugo Chavez bullshit,
right?
Which is just so freaking
just
annoying.
Going on that, I mean, Pasta, just to play devil's advocate, though, that is it loses any support that you could have from, like, you know, we're asking for the left to pay attention to election integrity, and once you put that in there, it's a complete turnoff, because we're sitting here as one of the only people on the left discussing it, 100% discussing election integrity, in spite of, you know, the muddy waters that it's been thrusted in. And so when you put that narrative out there, it's just like, because it's so false. It's so false. Not just because of the ideology, but it's also because it's so false. They're gonna grab that and compare it to Russiagate, and the Democrats are gonna take advantage of that, because they're gonna use the left to see, oh, ha, ha, like, let's mock this.
Stupid they are. Yeah,
let's mock this.
Yeah, and you know, I don't give a shit if it was a tactic. We reported maybe she was trying to goad them out to get a lawsuit so she can get discovery, whatever the case may be. Right. I'm done with it. It's like it's more harmful. And I see even Republicans starting to say, yeah, it does. And I see even some Republicans saying, well, that this is not in the best interest of the president by calling this shit out. But it does make us pay attention to where these machines are, how bad these machines can be. Because we've been saying this for a long time. How can you have proprietary software with public funding? This isn't right. We have to change the framework.
Well, she can do that without mentioning Venezuela and Hugo Chavez.
Absolutely. And if she's going to name one, she better name all. She doesn't ever mention 2004 with Diebold, where, you know, George Bush, the Bush clan, stole the election from from Kerry in 2004, and they were flipping votes there, and that was there. I as an election integrity activist, all of us, it's hard for us to believe that this all stemmed from the evil Hugo Chavez communist government. And I don't even, I'm not even saying that maybe he didn't take advantage of it. This shit's been going on for a while, and it's been mainly used by oligarchs in the United States playing God with our votes. Period. We don't even need to go to this outside influence. What now? Oh, there was foreign influence. Fine. Hey, man, if that's what you're saying, that's what you're saying. But we also have to concentrate the way we manipulate it here. The establishment. They're the ones pulling the strings. They're the ones who should be held accountable. Just so we can know, I put up this Smartmatic history. The little piece I think CNN did years ago, and I just wanted to put it up. The tweet's unavailable. It's gone. It's probably gone. Okay, well, here it is. I want to be fair in playing this, but once again, here we go.
Antonio Mujica and his partner Alfredo Anzola received a small business loan from the Venezuelan government only months before the recall election. These corporate registration documents from Venezuela show the Venezuelan government owned 28% of the stock of another company they started, Bizta, which adapted voting software for the Smartmatic machines in the 2004 elections. The same document shows a Chavez government minister, Omar Montillo, was on the board of directors. The Chavez government gave Bizta, Smartmatic, and another company a $91 million contract to run voting machines for the 2004 election. The next year, the owners of Smartmatic, primarily owned by Venezuelan businessmen, bought Sequoia, one of the top electronic voting system companies in the United States, for $16 million. Smartmatic is a labyrinth of international holding companies owned by Venezuelan businessmen. Smartmatic Group NV of Curaçao, Netherlands, Antilles owns Smartmatic Smartmatic International BV of Amsterdam, Netherlands, owns Smartmatic Corporation of Florida, which bought Sequoia Voting Systems of California, USA.
That's good
When
right there.
Smartmatic bought the U.S. voting...
All right, be careful.
So I don't want to kind of harp on this stuff, fam. And once again, that supposedly they're scrubbing this off Twitter right now, and we're trying to figure out what's what. But yeah, I mean, Smartmatic did dead end in Venezuela. We looked it up, but we didn't know what was what. But yeah, your thoughts on the video? Anything?
Yeah, so I don't think this proves that it's Hugo Chavez. I mean, I think this proves that there are interests in Venezuela who wish to overthrow the socialist communist regime there, and have for a very long time, and may have vested interest in cooperating with certain elements in the United States government to do that. We saw that happening with Juan Guaido, and there are plenty more like Guaido, and I think that is definitely more along the lines of what could be happening, because the United States has always tried to impose themselves into Venezuelan interests. We've seen it time and time again, because not just because of the oil, but also because of they want to crush the anti-capitalist, anti-imperialist sentiment that is there in South America, and you see it in Bolivia as well. So I think that there's more of a connection to be explored there, rather than the whole it's Hugo Chavez that she is Sidney Powell has been pushing.
It's kind of funny, because when we talk about this whole situation about, and a lot of stuff with China and Iran comes out, and then also Venezuela and whatnot. And any way you look at this, I still look at our aggressions first to put people in any positions whatsoever. We have to remember that we've casted the first stone. And I'm not saying that every single thing we do is evil, but we do a lot of bad shit. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times we manipulate governments for our own resource extraction needs. And you can't hide that. You can't deny that. And when you look at some of these studies on how many governments we try to overthrow, what I'd like to do is for us to just stay out. If that's a nationalistic mentality about getting away from these countries, closing our bases and coming home and spending that money here, so be it. I'll wear that label. I just want us to stop interfering with other countries'
It's not nationalistic. It's anti-imperialist.
Well,
because you can still have fair trade. You can still do things the right way. But it's literally not going into these countries. It is an anti-interventionist stance. And I think more Americans need to really understand that. All it does is it screws us here, and it screws people over there, and creates more enemies for us. Under the guise of spreading democracy, right?
Yeah. And like I said, let's keep our eye on the prize here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not the ghost of Hugo Chavez who fixed this last election, or the primaries. It's the
or
establishment.
Vladimir Putin.
Or Vladimir
any
Putin.
Of these people.
Notice that since the Democrats got their win, Vladimir Putin had nothing to do with this election.
Yeah,
it's almost laughable. And once again, the way they just hoodwink people and just sheepdog people into people have TDS. TDS is a real thing, fam, and it's crazy.
No, they're saying that he had nothing to do in the general election, but because Republicans won and in the congressional races, they're saying that there was interference.
Oh, there was. All right,
Yeah.
Putin interfered. Putin wants
Only-
Republicans, I guess. Fix the app. Thank you so much for the super chat contribution. It's working. What's working? It wasn't working before?
No.
Really? All right, guys, try to work the super chat. Put in $100 and hit send. See if it works. We'll let you know.
Shut up, Pasta.
Just kidding. Don't do that. Red Sea Socialists, love you. Glad that you're here. Johnny, just put up another link there in the YouTube chat. Let's go over to the Rokfin real quick when we get to the next thing. Come on with this thing again.
It always does that, Pasta.
No, it wasn't doing it for like 2 weeks now. Now it's doing it again. Son of a beeswax. Pasta whatnot, Jardula. Hugo Chavez illegally voted for Biden. Mail-in ballot from the afterlife. Biatch.
Yeah, right.
Guys, get over to that Rokfin. ROKFIN. We need more people over there. He's gonna have a lot to say about this next section here. And thank you very much to all our Patreons and everybody else who's helped us. Those PayPal payments mean something.
They do.
Just to let you know, just to cap up on the dates, fam. They had the hearing in Pennsylvania Wednesday, right? I think our hearing in Nevada is next Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get prepared to maybe hit the road. Oh, they're checking that. Bryant, it works. $9.99. Let's see if it works twice.
Oh.
Hold on. Jig forever. Thanks for not
Thank you, guys.
letting go of this important subject. It goes to heart of how democracy, in parentheses, doesn't work.
Yeah, democracy.
Listen, we've been talking about this for a long time because this is the mechanism right here. This is how, I saw a quote a long time ago, and it said, the two quotes there. One, the power doesn't lie with those who cast a vote. The power lies with those who count the vote, which makes sense. And somebody else saying, don't ever be naive to think that the elites will let you vote away their wealth. It ain't going to happen. And it's just true. We have to look at this right here. If we fix this first, like Clinton Curtis said, just put all your stuff on hold and let's get to this. Let's not save the whales right away. Let's not clean up the plastic. Let's just wait, fix this first. Because if we fix this, then we can get everything really fixed instead of getting lied to, hoodwinked, and actually having some law makers that are elected instead of selected. So,
All righty. So, fam. So
let's get
today
into it.
was breaking news. A Iranian scientist was reportedly assassinated. According to several reports, the suspects are Israeli terrorists. And let's just start off right here. This is Javad Zarif, and Javad Zarif is actually the foreign minister of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And he said terrorists murdered an eminent Iranian scientist today. This cowardice, with serious indications of Israeli role, show desperate warmongering of perpetrators. Iran calls on the intel community, and specifically the EU, international community, and specifically EU, to end their shameful double standards and condemn this act of state terror. So that is flat out. He's saying it is Israel. That's the foreign minister of Iran. And then Richard Medhurst, of course, who has done stuff for Press TV as well, said that unconfirmed reports that the head of Iran's nuclear program, so Mohsen Farizadeh, has been assassinated, and Israel has assassinated at least 4 Iranian nuclear scientists to date. And he says the only democracy in the Middle East. LOL. I mean, yes, the Middle East is, this happens all the time and nobody says anything about it, especially because Israel is never held accountable to absolutely anything that they do. And so the BBC, let's start with RT, Russian media, and how they framed it, because I have several different sources, because in these events, you're always going to see multiple different sources and how they view it. But, of course, again, he's a leading Iranian scientist, and he was fatally injured. And the way this happened was in an ambush on his car outside the capital of Tehran. And this happened today, before dying from his injuries in the hospital. And this is confirmed by Iran's defense ministry. And, quote, unfortunately, the medical team did not succeed in reviving him. And a few minutes ago, the manager and scientist achieved the high status of martyrdom after years of effort and struggle. Fakhrizadeh was attacked during an armed clash between his bodyguards and unknown assailants in Absard City, Tehran province. And this is from Mer News. And you guys can click on that and you can see that they are the ones that reported that specific thing. The attack involved at least one explosion and a shootout. It added the scientist was rushed to the hospital by helicopter, of course, and then he died. And there's a little bit of video from that that Johnny's showing. And he was the Atomic Energy Organization. He was part of the Atomic Energy Organization of Iran. And at first they denied the claims, but then they actually reported that that's what happened. So that's what was said according to RT. And I'm going to go on to the BBC's reporting. Just give me 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to say on that, Pasta?
No, I'm actually just listening and learning right now. But I saw this briefly. I was just on the phone doing election shit today.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, I had a friend of mine call me. And, so this is we heard about it today. I saw Dick Medhurst put his stuff up. So, and I got a text, oh, shit's going down. And I was like, you better believe it. Can you believe what's going on with this 1% recount? Like, no. In Iran. I'm like, oh, shit. So, yeah, I'm just interested to see what's going on.
So
3 other ones, I didn't know anything about that. Wow.
Yeah, nobody knows about. That's the thing. Yeah. Because our media never reports on it and people don't pay attention. Okay, so this is from the BBC, and I'm just going to highlight a couple things here. He was Iran's most senior nuclear scientist. Okay, so he was a big deal, and he was actually targeted for a while. Western intelligence agencies believe Fakhrizadeh was behind a covert Iranian nuclear weapons program. And, quote, if Iran ever chose to weaponize Fakhrizadeh, would be known as the father of the Iranian bomb. this was said by one Western diplomat to Reuters in 2014. Iran insists its nuclear program is exclusively for peaceful purposes. Notice how the BBC is framing that. And there's a picture down here. A 2015 deal with 6 world powers, of course, had placed limits on its production, the Iran nuclear deal. But since President Donald Trump abandoned the deal in 2018, Iran has been deliberately reneging on its agreements. Joe Biden has pledged to re-engage with Iran when he takes over the U.S. presidency in January, despite long-standing opposition from Israel. So, the framing is that Joe Biden is going to bring back the Iran nuclear deal. And I'll tell you my opinion on what actually I think is going on with that. But this is a picture of him. And again, he was the head of Ministry of Defense's Research and Innovation Organization between 2010 and 2012. As Richard said, 4 Iranian nuclear scientists were assassinated, and Iran has accused Israel of complicity in the killings. Iran has also accused the CIA working in cohesion, the US CIA working in cohesion, of course, with the Israeli intelligence Mossad, and I'm going to get into that in a minute. In 2010, of course, in 12, Obama was president. So this suggests that more than likely this would still be happening under a Biden presidency, considering who he's putting forth as we speak. And this is from the New York Times. And the New York Times actually admitted that Americans knew that he was a actual target. And since the New York Times constantly, shuts me out, Johnny, I have the shots here. One American official specifically said, along with 2 other intelligence officials, that Israel was behind the attack on the scientists. It was unclear how much the United States may have known about the operation in advance, but the 2 nations are the closest of allies and have long shared intelligence regarding Iran. The White House and the CIA, of course, declined to comment on this matter thus far. Israel, of course, as you guys know, has long opposed the Iran nuclear deal, and they were responsible for, of course, the if you guys remember the attack on Soleimani, and of course with our bidding. And that was one of the things that the Trump administration can definitely fall. You can say the Trump administration did that. Like, that is very warmongering and very
it's Donald Trump, like he whacks people.
Yeah. But American officials will not comment on the assassination Friday morning, saying they were seeking information. But some American officials argued that the death of Mr. Fakhrizadeh, the latest in a string of such mysterious killings of Iran's top nuclear scientists, would send a chilling message to the country's other top scientists working on that program. If we can get him, we can get you too. So that's the message that apparently is being said now. Reportedly, Mossad is likely behind this, and this is from the New York Times. The assassinated scientist had long been a target of Israel's Mossad. In 2018, you could see that Netanyahu was having an entire, he did an entire PowerPoint, entire seminar on him, and this was him singling out during on Iran's nuclear program, a speech on Iran's nuclear program in 2018. And Mr. Fakhrizadeh had long been the number 1 target of Mossad, according to several people involved in U.S. government. Israel's intelligence service, of course, their Mossad is Israel's CIA. And again, this has been ongoing as a decade and long assassination of these scientists. And Iran never actually agreed to the demands of the International Atomic Energy Agency, the United Nations Nuclear Monitoring Agency, to let their inspectors question Mr. Fakhrizadeh, saying he was an academic who lectured at the Imam Hussein University in downtown Tehran. But a series of classified reports, notably a lengthy 2000 assessment done by the CIA for the Bush administration, showed that the academic role was a cover story, and this is according, of course, to the New York Times. In 2008, his name was added to the list of Iranian officials whose assets were ordered frozen by the United States. So they saw him as a target, both
had him on a radar for a while, huh?
Yeah, both Israel and the United States saw him as a target. And the United States can try to pretend that they have nothing to do with this, but come on. We know that the U.S. and Israel are close allies. They have worked in collusion with each other. CIA, especially, as we know, has done covert missions in the Middle East with Israel to advance their vested interests. And this is, I don't think, any different. But why suspect Israel? Well, because, like, as we mentioned, they've done it before. This is the People's Mujahideen of Iran, okay? It's, just so you guys know, they're called the People's Mujahideen Organization of Iran, or the Mujahideen Khalq. And they are actually, if you look at the, right over here, the opinion journals, Johnny, this organization was accused of working in tandem with Israel and with Benjamin Netanyahu to actually get rid of the Iranian leadership that was anti-Western, right? So these people were working in collusion. You can see right here. I'll read from this right here.
It's funny that they call them the People's Mujahideen. It's the same group that was in Afghanistan.
Right. So
stupid.
Deadly attacks on Iranian nuclear scientists are being carried out by an Iranian dissident group that is financed, trained, and armed by Israel's Secret Service, or Mossad. U.S. officials tell NBC News, confirming charges leveled by Iran's leaders. The group, the People's Mujahideen of Iran, has long been designated as a terrorist group by the United States, accused of killing American servicemen and contractors in the 1970s and supporting the takeover of the U.S. embassy in Tehran before breaking with the Iranian mullahs in 1980. Of course, the mullahs are the ones in charge. That's what they're called now. So the attacks which have killed 5 Iranian nuclear scientists since 2007 and may have destroyed a missile research and development site may have been carried out in the dramatic fashion, with motorcycle-borne assailants often attaching small magnetic bombs to the exterior of victims' cars, as we just saw. U.S. officials, speaking on condition of anonymity, said that the Obama administration is aware of the assassination campaign but has no direct involvement. 2 senior U.S. officials confirmed the MEK's role in the assassination, with one senior official saying, "All your inclinations are correct." A third official would not confirm or deny the relationship, saying, "It hasn't been clearly confirmed yet." All the officials denied any U.S. involvement in the assassinations. As it has in the past, Israel's foreign ministry declined to comment. As long as we can't see all the evidence being claimed by NBC, the foreign minister won't react to every gossip or report being published worldwide. But as you guys can see, this they are funded. MEK is funded and trained by Israel, which is interesting. It's kind of like similar to what happened with the white helmets. There was always a rumor too when it came to the embassy being the prisoners that were taken there. A lot of people said, I heard a rumor back in the days, they said that they were actually doing that at the behest of Reagan and his goons and George Bush. George Bush had arranged it for them to take hostages, therefore they would force people to vote in the states. Like, Reagan said, this would never happen under my watch. You're letting Jimmy Carter let this happen? They got our hostages there? I'd take care of this in a heartbeat. And as soon as Reagan got elected, a couple days later, Jimmy Carter had made a deal and they came home. But a lot of people had said that they were actually doing that at the behest of keeping those prisoners to help Ronald Reagan and get rid of Jimmy Carter. I mean, then it says the Mujahideen of Iran broke away from, you know what I'm saying? So it kind of, put a little weight into that theory that maybe they were already working with Israel in the United States back then. I don't know. But I did hear those talks. Yeah.
So
the critics of the MEK have said that the Iranian opposition group is a, quote, totalitarian cult, voicing concern about its growing clout in the halls of power in the U.S. Capitol. Only 7 short years ago, the U.S. Department listed MEK as a terrorist organization. And I have the little bit here. Interestingly, 2 of Donald Trump's right-handed men have been on MEK's payroll. The National Security Advisor, John Bolton, which is no surprise, and the president's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, have both been charged hefty fees to speak at MEK rallies in the past few years. So all these people, the MEK protesters, are very supportive of Donald Trump. And other articles that I was reading, they actually prefer Donald Trump to Joe Biden, which is really interesting because either it's just interesting because they're both horrible. But it says right here, U.S. take action, mullahs must get more sanctions, the protesters chanted. So these protesters at MEK are anti-mullah, and they want to sanction they want sanctions for Iran, thinking that it's going against
They want that government out.
Yes, exactly. They want that government out. So again, this seems like another, particularly this organization seems like another U.S. Israel-backed organization that is there to overthrow the current Iranian leadership that is in place right now. Supposedly, they hate the theocratic government of Iran. But as we know, it's not that simple at all.
Who caused that? Mossadegh?
Right, but we shouldn't be involving ourselves again.
At all. We shouldn't have involved ourselves in 1954.
Exactly.
It's led up to what's going on right now.
Yeah.
Sorry,
and
fam.
No, you're entirely right. And again, it gets super complicated because we keep making it more complicated. So this is from Iranian state media, and I'm saying that because I wanted to show all different aspects and how this is being talked about. You saw the New York Times is more so framing it as, we're not doing anything. But here's some American officials that say Israel's involved, that say, we know this guy was persecuted. So this happens all too often. This is on Press TV. We can just play the whole video.
Well, there was another terrorist incident that took place in Iran. It could happen anywhere in the Middle East against targeted countries. Certainly in the Middle East, Iran is the leading target of the U.S., of Israel, some of their allied regional states, the Saudis, the Gulf states, the NATO countries. Terrible stuff that goes on with no accountability ever. Nobody ever held accountable for the stuff that goes on. Well, a prominent Iranian physicist was gunned down or killed by gunfire, maybe mixed with some other activities that went on. I think he was gunned down. If I'm wrong, you can correct this in the report. But killed by, let's say at this point, an unknown assassin or assassins. Maybe Iran has some information on who is behind this. There's no question that it either was an Israeli act of murder or a U.S. CIA act of murder, or maybe they worked in cahoots with each other, which they do very, very often in the Middle East, elsewhere. Israel even operates far distant from the Middle East in service to U.S. interests in Central America, maybe in South America. It's amazing. What on earth does Israel want to get involved in those parts of the world? Well, when the U.S. asked its officials to do a favor, meaning a terrorist favor, bumping somebody off or something like that, well, Israel jumps in and does it. It also trains forces to commit crimes against humanity in other countries. That could happen anywhere in the world. But here, another prominent Iranian who threatened nobody, a peaceful individual, gunned down, murdered in cold blood, probably by the CIA or Israel, or both of them. And it happens too often, time and again. It'll happen again. It'll happen many times. Accountability maybe one day will come. I don't know if I'll ever live long enough to see it. There should be accountability. There is such a thing as international law. In the U.S. is the U.S. Constitution, and the supremacy clause of the U.S. Constitution mandates that all international laws are automatically U.S. constitutional law, which means its officials have to obey them. But of course they don't. They do what they please. They operate by their own rules. Israel operates the same way. So do other NATO countries, the Saudis, the Bahrainis, these people. They do whatever they please. And as long as you have Uncle Sam's okay, nobody ever says a word about it. The U.S. media say nothing about it. I'm sure there was nothing in the U.S. media about the latest Iranian casualty murdered in cold blood.
Okay, so like you said, I mean, there is it's there, but the United States isn't giving any comment on what happened. I mean, the media is talking about it, but the United States isn't really giving a comment. And if so, the media is tying it to, they're washing their hands off of it, not criticizing Israel in any way, shape, or form. He very flat out said that he believes the CIA and in Israel often work in tandem, and they do, and it's been, of course, documented. But he believes that this is a case where that may have happened again, and it's an interesting perspective too to flat out say and to talk about the NATO countries and how we, how we the NATO countries abuse. Yeah, we're above the law. It doesn't matter.
We don't follow
and there's no accountability to this. I mean, they're targeting scientists. Now, I wouldn't say this guy is it hasn't hurt anybody or isn't a threat to anybody, because he is obviously a threat to the West if he is, pursuing interest in nuclear technology. Now, that's something I have a personal problem with, and I will say at the end, I don't think it's fair to ask other countries to stop doing nuclear research on nuclear weapons when we continue to do so. It's like it's that whole motto, do as I say, not as I do.
But they always are saying they're doing nuclear testing for nuclear energy for non-military reasons. That's what they're saying. They're saying you have nuclear power plants there that you get to use for power as a source of energy. Why can't we? We have to find other ways to, energize and use, power for our country. So the fact that they didn't even go there to say, now, don't get me wrong, I don't believe it when Netanyahu or Bibi or anybody from the CIA says, well, this is the number one guy. If he's the one, if they build a bomb, they'll name it after him. I think that's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? They just want to send a message. We can get to him. We'll get to you. Do not help them in any way, shape, or form. It's just it's a typical Trump wise guy hit what he's been doing since he got in there. He wanted to whack al-Assad, Bashar al-Assad. He's like, I don't want to commit troops. I don't want to use drone warfare. I want to whack these guys. It's very unique that a president's coming using mafia style hits in his legislation.
Yeah, and more than Trump, I would say it's obviously he's the commander in chief. So this does fall on him. But if it is found that there is direct connections between, the neocons right now, his neocons and his goons, then there's that's it. But I believe it's more CIA covert operations, Pasta.
Yeah, and somebody also says that MEK gets funding from the Saudis as well.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that's no surprise. No surprise to me. So this is a reaction from an Iranian MP. The Iranian MP is a nuclear scientist and former head of the Atomic Energy Organization. Okay, and he's interviewed by this journalist from Press TV. So let's start at 25 seconds, Johnny.
I just offer my hello to your audience. I would like to correct the name Mr. Mohsen Fakhrizadeh. If there is any incorrect pronunciation of the name. He was assassinated in an armed struggle, and his car was stopped, and he was out of the car, and he was alongside his wife. He was moving towards Tehran when he was assassinated and assaulted. He was an atomic expert in our country, and he had been active in this field for several years, and he trained many students, and he served as a scientist in promoting nuclear energy in our country, and he had been under the supervision and under the eyes of the secret agents of the Zionist regime. And then finally they succeeded to kill him, and he was killed with several bullets.
Okay, so that's just an overview of what happened. There was an ambush. There was two cars. One car exploded. People then came out of another car. Shootout with his secret service trying to protect him, and then eventually he was shot and died at the hospital. The second part, he goes more in deep into the politics of the situation.
At this point, what were they trying to achieve by assassinating Mohsen Fakhrizadeh?
I was a target of such assassination 10 years ago, and when I was with with my wife, alongside Mr. Shahriari. But Mr. Shahriari was assassinated, but I could escape. It is a common target. They are going to put fear into our society in order to stop our research, strategic research, which is going to overshadow our improvements and achievements. They are going to put fear in our community by assassinating some elites in order to push us into negotiations with them. But as of past, we are going to resist strongly against these pressures, and our country is not dependent on an individual. So we are going to push our ways through these hardships and ensure our enhancement in the country.
Right. So he asked him, why does he think, they did this? And he said, they're trying to push fear, that he was also a target 10 years ago, which falls into the right timeline when there were attempts at actual killings of other scientists. I agree. It's fear, but it's also, like he said, it's an attempt to really push Iran to say, okay, fine, leave us alone. But Iran isn't going to do that. And he goes on to talk about how that is going to happen next time.
Just want to read this one comment real quick because it says, listen, and this is from Pasta Whatnot Jardula on the Rokfin, Rokfin, you Pishman. What the U.S. and Israel don't understand is in Shia Iranian culture, dying in martyrdom is actively welcome. This won't
dissuade?
Disincentivize other scientists much.
Yep.
It's not going to deter them. In fact,
that's
he's
going
to die. You're going to build a statue of me. Come kill me. I want to be the next top Iranian scientist.
Yeah.
Should Iran have now?
Wait, can you
we are not going to retaliate in a way they have in mind, in an inhumane way, but we are going to have some proper response to this assassination. We are going to push our way in a way which is wise. We are going to trust our God, but we are not going to commit crime against their agents. We are not going to do similar things as they did, but we are going to support freedom lovers, and we ask the freedom lovers of the world to put pressure on these criminals to put away what they are doing.
Right. So he's saying they're not going to retaliate in the same way that these people, like Israel is who they're mostly referencing, expect them to. So they, easily this could escalate into now we're going to bomb so-and-so. And this MP is saying that's not going to happen, but we are demanding that the community come out and hold these people accountable, is basically. And we saw that also with the foreign minister too, calling on these countries to condemn these actions, which never happens, because Israel, you get that automatic retort, oh, you're being anti-Semitic, you're blah 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 blah. We have to obviously get past that. But the Iran nuclear deal, plus, and I just wanted to mention that real quick, the Iran nuclear deal is lauded by many people as a really great thing that Obama did and that the Obama administration left in doing. But in my opinion, it's actually an empty and vacuous thing, because it didn't really, it more so restrained Iran from being able to do the things that we are able to do. And with Donald Trump taking that out, it just kind of showcased the real relations that are actually ongoing right now. And like, I just don't see how, because a lot of people are saying that Biden is going to be better with Iran because he's going to bring back the Iran nuclear deal. But I feel like the Iran nuclear deal doesn't account for covert operations, and it's not going to restrain those operations. In fact, with Biden coming in with people like Blinken and Avril Haines, we're going to see this actually escalate into that way, that CIA covert operation type of way, where we're pretending that we are actually backing away when we're actually not.
Yeah, I mean, it's a toss-up because in certain ways,
Yeah.
it lifted sanctions, it provided them, it got them back money that was owed to them. Iran, they already got, that was the whole thing too, was like when Donald Trump came in and he ripped up the deal, it's like, well, you already gave them the money, idiots.
Well, yeah.
They got all their money back that they were demanding back and released funds from banks and provided certain avenues for certain sanctions to be lifted to help them with their, medicine and whatnot. So when Donald Trump ripped it up and then he put some of those sanctions back on, he put a stranglehold on it. So it's give or take here and there. You know what I'm saying? It's, I
don't see Biden not putting sanctions in either, though.
Biden, at the end of the day, it's kind of weird because the Democrats, Obama, Biden, Clinton, whatnot, they are pro-Israel. They're pro-Zionist. Now, they wouldn't be as faithful or as helpful to Bibi that Donald Trump was like, hey, they said they're going to move the embassy. I'm going to move it. You know what I'm saying? Like I hear a lot of friends of mine from back in Boca Raton, my Jewish friends, who said that Donald Trump has been the best president for Israel. Well, he's been the best president for the Bibi and Netanyahu government. You know what I'm saying? And I can't argue that from what they're saying.
Agreed.
But once again, we'll see. One hand washes the other. The Democrats play that tiptoe game because they get a lot of pushback from the left of the treatment of the Palestinians, whatnot.
Right.
So they try to play this whole balancing game. It's once again, they're very phony about the situation.
Well, yeah,
At least
you
Donald
have
Trump
AIPAC.
is being who he is. You know
I
what
mean,
I'm saying?
you have AIPAC, you have
They get a
J
lot of money
Street,
from
you
AIPAC.
have all these organizations, and of course you have literally nobody in Congress right now really fighting for Palestine. I mean, Ilhan Omar has said something regarding Israel-Palestine, as has Rashida Tlaib, but other than that, I mean, and they don't have the power to do anything anyway. So
Well, they have the power to be vocal about.
they
the situation.
should be more vocal, and they have been.
It's a very-
are the two that have been actually vocal.
It's like
but-
you told me, like it's an apartheid state. A lot of people feel that way, but I'll have a lot of people back in Boca Raton. Jewish people have been there for thousands of years. This is wrong. So it's like a very nuanced situation.
Yeah.
You got to get in there. Listen. At the end of the day, you can never excuse the behavior of the Palestinians by the Israeli government. I'm sorry. There's nothing you can tell me that would excuse that behavior. Now, are you going to say you don't have the right to exist? I wouldn't say that. You know what I'm saying? I definitely think you have the right to exist. But the way you came about, regardless of not if Jews were there, it's still a lot of nuances that need to be cleared up. We have to somehow fix this situation because this situation really here is a lightning rod for a lot of activity that comes out of the Middle East. A lot of people are upset by this particular situation here, especially the awful treatment of the Palestinians. There's no excuse, man. So.
And Caitlin Johnson, just to sum up, we have a couple tweets. U.S. empire assassinates scientists, invades countries, topples governments, circles the planet with military bases, deliberately starts children to death with sanctions, threatens the world with nuclear weapons. Also the empire. Iran must begin acting like a normal country. Very true. I mean, we always vilify those that we tend to attack. And then the next one, of course.
I wanted to read it in my Caitlin Johnston voice, but next
you
time.
You want to read this one?
Well, it's Dick Medhurst. No,
I
I don't have a Dick Medhurst impersonation. Yeah.
Damn. All right. He said, I wonder what kind of outrage and condemnation you'd see from the international community if Iran drone striked America's top general or assassinated Israeli scientists in occupied Palestine. Apparently, it's okay to do that to non-Westerners. And again, this goes back to the whole sentiment that everybody in the East, whether it's the Middle East, whether it's the global South, they're not like everybody. Their lives don't matter when it comes to the bombing and the droning that Obama did. Their lives didn't matter, and it was a bunch of poor civilian brown people that often get killed by our foreign policy. But yet you have the Democratic Party here using identity politics of oh yay, we have a woman in power, a woman in charge of the CIA, a woman blah blah blah, and it's that sort of sentiment that is still present. Nobody in our government is really hey, Israel, this is completely wrong. You need to come out and pay for this. You need to be held accountable. Nobody in our government is doing that, and that is something really sad to say. If as he says, the situation were reversed, we would be at war. We would already be bombing whoever. This is what we do, and it's disgusting, and we shouldn't be normalizing this kind of behavior.
Well, it's the problem is too. That's the whole thing we talk about, the lack of knowledge and nuance of foreign policy from people on the left.
Yeah.
It's like this American exceptionalism. This is not okay. We have to pay attention to this. It's, our foreign policy is our domestic policy, and how long does it have to go on before the chickens really come home to roost, right? 9/11, was it real? Was it fake? Whatever the case. How long until we really, see an attack on American soil and we lose our lives because we were just not paying attention to what's going on? So many people were like trying to understand what was going on 9/11. They had no clue. They didn't understand the difference between a Sunni and a Shia. They didn't know where the Mujahideen had started from. They didn't understand where Osama bin Laden was hiding. They didn't understand anything, and that is not okay. So we have to get our heads out of our you-know-what and pay attention to foreign policy right now. This is an important story Fiorella is bringing up. There's going to be some more information coming out in the next couple of days. We know that, and we're going to follow it. Also, I want to report eventually, too, as well. I got to get a report that some of the Houthis hit a Saudi oil refinery. Excuse me, I'm going to dig into that, and we'll find out what's going on. Anything else before I read some super chats on this subject, guys? Johnny? Okay. Altruism in service. Thank you so much for the super chat contribution. It's always appreciated on the couch. You guys are voter integrity. Can we get help from Dore, Gray Zone, Greenwald? ? Thank you guys for your great journalism. Why is this ignored? Hey, we talk about this all the time. This is not really this subject, even before this election. When we talk about it, you get less hits on these videos than you do your other videos. It's not a sexy topic. However, it's an important topic, and I can't answer why people are ignoring it. Fam, maybe you can give some answers to that.
I can't answer. I mean, it's just a lot of backlash. I'm not gonna. Those are wonderful people you guys have mentioned that I truly admire and support. And again, this is something that is really difficult to navigate the waters, as you saw with Sidney Powell. Some of the things she's saying are true. Some of the things she's saying are completely wrong and a spin narrative for the right-wing ideology, and that's fine. But it's really troubling, and it really is difficult to sift through all that information and find the truth. And it's really not sexy. It doesn't do anything for clicks, and it really gets you a lot of backlash.
It does, it's not like we're making extra money for covering this topic. Whoever said that was just asinine. Johnny, why do you think people ignore this stuff? You're screaming from the top of the hills, the 1% on it. You're kind of proving what's going on. Why aren't people paying attention to this stuff?
The wall of ignorance.
Empire Education?
Pink Floyd. No, people don't want to hear that there's no democracy in what they what they were brainwashed and grew up to believe was a democracy. It's hard for a lot of people, and people are like, nah, just trust the election force. They're not going to do anything. They're not going to do anything. They would never do that to us. They'd be breaking the law. There'd be a huge uproar about this. Yeah. We bring evidence, nothing happens.
Yeah, 100%. It's cognitive dissonance, fam.
It's funny, too, because you got the whole people. I saw a TikTok video of a guy talking about the Pennsylvania hearing. It's, on the left, this is going to have no effect on elections. It's just a bunch of Republicans getting in the room and screaming, this is so stupid and they're wasting your time. It's like they can't even see. Forget about it. Embled Fateh, or Embled Fate, thank you so much. Lost faith in all the politicians, only seeing AOC host a Twitter war with Cruz. At least Tulsi is serious about spreading a message of free Assange before she goes.
And that's the next topic, fam.
Yes, it is. And that was the last super chat to get right into.
Yes.
Let me make sure.
Yes.
All right, let's get into the next topic.
So, Trump should pardon Assange. He should also pardon Snowden. And Tulsi Gabbard agrees. Tulsi Gabbard actually set in a tweet, retweeting her past video, asking for the pardoning of whistleblowers. So she said, since you're giving pardons to people, please consider pardoning those who at great personal sacrifice expose the deception and criminality of those in the deep state. She used the words deep state. Which is very
well, she's signaling to Trump, because a lot of Trumpers will pick up, oh, look, Tulsi's talking about the deep state.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
she knows the audience she's playing to, at times. Sometimes she does. But she was like, hello. She just said a buzzword there. People are like, whoa. So when we show up at a rally to cover it, and you're like, hey, guys, WikiLeaks, remember, it gave you the election. What about telling Donald Trump he should pardon Julian Assange? A lot of Trumpers out there in those rallies say,
Lori
you know
Jones has done that very thing, and she has spoken to them, and she engages in conversation, at least on that issue. But this is just a reminder of her October 6th, her October 6th video.
You want to play it?
Yeah,
why not? Let's do it. Never have too much Tulsi.
Every single one of us as Americans are guaranteed basic fundamental rights and freedoms that are enshrined in our Constitution. But we cannot take these freedoms for granted. I've introduced legislation to stand up for and to protect brave whistleblowers who've come forward to expose illegal actions within our own government or egregious abuses of power, and to reform the Espionage Act to make sure that if a whistleblower is prosecuted under the Espionage Act, that they will have their fair day in court, something that is currently not allowable under the law as it stands today. So first, I introduced HRES 1162 with my colleague, Congressman Matt Gaetz, that very simply calls on our government to drop all charges against Edward Snowden for the actions that he took in the public interest to expose a mass government surveillance program on all Americans that violates our privacy and civil liberties and that courts deemed illegal more than once. I also introduced HRES 1175 with my colleague, Congressman Tom Massey, which calls for the same action, for the government to drop all charges against Julian Assange, who also acted in the public interest as he published information to expose lies and egregious abuses of power in our own government. Last but not least, I introduced a bill, HR 8452, to reform the Espionage Act. Daniel Ellsberg was the first person prosecuted under the 1917 Espionage Act for his act of bravery in releasing the Pentagon Papers to the Washington Post to publish classified documents that exposed the lies that were being told to the American people about what was really happening in the Vietnam War. Now, Snowden, Assange, and others are being prosecuted under this same Espionage Act. But as Daniel Ellsberg knows well, under current law, none of them are allowed to speak to the intent of their actions in court. My bill changes that. I'm urging my colleagues in Congress to stand up for the American people, to stand up for our freedoms, and pass this critical legislation now.
Yeah.
Okay, so, as a reminder, none of her colleagues, besides the ones she mentioned, none of the progressives, none of the squad, none of anybody on the supposed left, supported this legislation for whistleblowers. Definitely not that many people on the right either, except the ones she mentioned. And that's where we're at. That's where we're at in America. It's like we don't pay attention to press freedoms. And she also had, of course, the before the Securing Our Americans Elections Act, and then she had the other one on ballot harvesting, which was also not supported by anybody on the progressive end. It was actually framed as a right-wing talking point and a right-wing bill when it actually wasn't. It would have stopped a lot of what happened in this election.
Those 5 bills that you just mentioned, the 3 that you mentioned, the Congresswoman, and those other 2, fam, with eliminating the ballot harvesting and the Elections Integrity Act to make sure that our elections have some form of audits, paper ballots, and all that. She had the best bill by far. These 3 acts over here, which just kind of changing the Espionage Act, where a defendant can't even defend himself in court to talk about these things. You know what I'm saying? Like Daniel Ellsberg had the same handcuffs on. I mean, these are big bills. Freeing Snowden, dropping the charges on Snowden, Julian Assange. This is meaty bills. So when I hear people say, that Bernie sold out, Tulsi sold out, and this, listen, Tulsi has not made a lot of good decisions, but once again, she's coming with some serious bills that nobody else is paying attention to. And it's a shame that she's got to look to Thomas Massey on the right, Matt Gaetz on the right, Rand Paul on the right. Where are the people on the left who should be sticking up for our freedom of speech? And also, how important is it Julian Assange and Edward Snowden, fam? I mean, come on.
Especially to us. I mean, it is definitely important as, people in media, as journalists. It's like, if they go after him, that's it. It's that's it. We're done. And the thing is, Donald Trump has the ability to actually
absolutely
have a legacy.
All his buddies.
Not only that, but he could get, if he gets out of office, he could get all those people on his side. If he wants to run again, because he technically could run again. Oh, yeah. And he would get all those people on his side. It would actually be a very politically strategic move.
But how far do you go when you challenge the intelligence community? This is a big move. If you pardon Snowden and Assange, that is huge. But it's really important. He is out of office.
So
I hope he does it. He's pardoning Flynn, Stone, all these other people. Let's do that. Come on. These people hate you. They worked against you. Let's kick them right. You know where?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's gonna do it because I think there's too much. Like you said, like it would be a political suicide in terms of the establishment for him. But
thank you, Tulsi, for talking about this.
Yeah, thank you, Tulsi, for talking about it. And of course, the New York Newsweek actually did a whole report on it, pretty much saying the same thing that we just said. I just wanted to show you guys that the Newsweek actually did publish this report. As a reminder, Assange is currently in Belmarsh prison in the United Kingdom, and it's facing extradition into the U.S. on charges referring to leaks relating to the leaks that Chelsea Manning had. He had taken a refuge in Ecuador, as you guys know, but of course the Ecuadorian government had granted him asylum, but it was revoked with the new incoming president.
Yeah, that's right.
And Snowden actually spoke to Glenn Greenwald this Wednesday about how whistleblowers will be treated once former VP Biden assumes office. So I wanted to also show a little bit of how people on Twitter took to talking about this, because a lot of people may not necessarily like or agree with Donald Trump, but are really jumping into this whole, pardon Assange, Trump, pardon Assange, please pardon Assange. And it's important to note that specifically right now.
I got it for you right here.
Okay, so Christine Assange is Julian Assange's mother.
Aww.
And she stated that all I want for Christmas is to see the sun on my son's face again. And of course, January 4th will be the verdict coming in from the UK that we're going to be seeing. And
that's hard, right? That's hard to look at. That's hard. That's a mother. That's a mother crying.
He's a journalist.
He's
an Australian journalist.
Publisher that he just. This makes me want to cry how important this is, because if it's important to us, not just because we're a media fam, it's important to you out there watching, because we're going to tell you the truth. What do you talk about? The fourth estate, how important that is to bring the truth, to hold the government accountable. Now they're eliminating us, censoring us. This is very important, ladies and gentlemen. And you on the left, if you are on the left, the real left, you better get with it, because if they do this to this man, they can do this to anybody, and you'll never know anything. It'd be nothing but eating zombie pudding and just walking like a sheep.
Right. And it's not just about Julian Assange. That's the thing. That's what people need to understand when people are like, well, there are other important things. This is about freedom of speech. This is about freedom of the press. This is about fascism, fighting fascism in that way.
Real fascism.
Through censorship. And so Taylor actually posted that, wow, there was this trending on pardoning Assange. Assange was trending, and Snowden was also trending, because people were also asking for pardons for Edward Snowden. And
one above it. No.
This next one is also from Christine Assange.
You skipped that one. Johnny's getting the last the Libertarian Party up. No, go to the.
Okay, so here, you just read it up there.
Okay, I can't. We are grateful to those who have exposed what ways that our government has lied to and knowingly harmed the American people. We join Tulsi Gabbard, Matt Gaetz, and Representative Thomas Massie from Kentucky in calling for a complete pardon for Edward Snowden and Julian Assange. I had to put out these from Kentucky, baby.
No, I had to let you read that because it was the libertarian one.
You just said you're more libertarian than me in some ways.
No, I meant on the left. Like, I'm very anti-authoritarian fam. But it's really sad that people on the left are literally not talking about this.
Yeah.
Like, where is everybody? Where is the squad? Where are progressives? Why aren't you talking about this? Just, I know you don't like Trump, but if he does this, it's not going to change my opinion on him. It's just going to be like, okay, it's a political move. Great. Goodbye. And now that's it. It would actually be beneficial to him, like I said. Christine Assange also thanked everybody for asking President Trump to pardon her son, Julian Assange. She said, while being strong and passionate, please also remember to be respectful. Thank you. And pardon Assange, please. #save Julian.
She's been this way the whole time. She's always been saying, don't lash out at people. Don't get mad at people. Even if they don't agree with us, let's just talk this through. She has been an angel in this whole situation, and I feel for you, Christine. I hope one day you do get to see your son, the light hit his face, and we're going to continue talking about it and bringing it up and supporting the people who do talk about this. We're very supportive for the action for Assange people, not because we like them, but it's because we believe their message is so important
Right.
that we have to constantly elevate it. Because that's something also on the left that nobody else is talking about as well. It's been a shame because we're at this point, fam, right now. It's like I feel like we're politically homeless. Right, we don't have anywhere to go. We've seen a lot of people we had on the left that we thought were marching on the same page as us, just not even pay attention to this stuff, to get hoodwinked by the whole, oh, we're fighting fascism in Donald Trump, but like, look at what the Democratic Party is doing, and you're sitting there and you're supporting them, and you're actually applauding this whole situation where the machine is trying to take back over and come right back into play, and forget about it. Right now, we're already experiencing the censorship. It's just going to get worse under Joe Biden, and Whitney Webb said that. So.
Yeah, we're fighting fascism, and you have to fight fascism on the entire spectrum, not just on one spectrum. Stella Morris said these are Julian's sons, Max and Gabriel. They need their father. Our family needs to be whole again. I beg you, please bring home for Christmas. Please bring him home for Christmas, Trump. And so she said, pardon Assange, free Assange now. And those are his kids. Those are his kids, you guys. I mean, it doesn't hit any more home than that for being a journalist, you know. And Ajam Mubarak always has something good to say, and I just wanted to read him. I echo the call for full pardon for Edward Snowden, Julian Assange, and reparations for Chelsea Manning, who also, of course, suffered during her tenure as well.
He should run for the Green Party president.
Yeah.
I mean, really, Ajamu, you're awesome. Why don't you run? Don't get lost in the sauce, Ajamu.
So Alex Knight said...
Hey, Alex Knight, we're playing your tweet here.
While Tulsi Gabbard is out there doing the real work, like wanting to pardon Julian Assange and Edward Snowden, AOC is tweeting about playing Among Us, and all his supporters and the so-called progressives go crazy and love it. Somebody please fucking kill me. Well, we're not going to kill you, but I understand your frustration.
There's
AOC,
talking about?
Canadian members of Parliament and U.S. members of Congress venting each other into space. What could go wrong? I'm in Jagmeet Singh, and there it is, and they're going to play with Hassan Piker, Among Us, and they're going to do a live stream. Yes, this is Among Us.
Oh, geez.
But there are, there's nothing more important right now than doing that. I mean, there's nothing more important happening. So I just wanted to throw that tweet in there. And the last one, and I think this tweet by Misty echoes exactly how we're feeling right now, what you just said. You okay?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
As someone who resides in the very bottom left-hand corner of the political foursquare, that's me, the very, very corner outside, it's endlessly depressing to realize I have more luck with the right/libertarians on the issues of free speech and press and also election integrity, let me add that, than I do with progressives.
So true.
It's not a partisan issue, or at least it shouldn't be, but it's still sad to watch people who should be allies and comrades be such shit on such a crucial issue. I mean, this speaks to me so much, Misty. I mean, I just can't tell you, our conversation yesterday or a couple days ago. I lost track of time. But it's so frustrating to me to be like, seriously, like the leftists of left, but on the corner of anti-authoritarianism. And because I'm there, nobody is there with me on the left. Like very few people like yourselves are, but the vast majority of people make free speech an issue that is only a right-wing issue, or like issue that's being politicized now as a right. They've actually maligned it. The establishment has maligned it to that point. Same with election integrity now. It's getting to be in that place, and it's so wrong, and it's so sad that these people should be our allies, our comrades, and they're literally being hoodwinked by the establishment into authoritarian ways of thinking.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy because on the left, they are not there when it comes to our civil liberties and freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and talking up for Julian Assange. And I'm talking about all our people that we thought were our people. I'm not anymore. Bernie Sanders, the fraud squad, none of them talking about this. They're awful on foreign policy. They're not there with us there. They're lost in the sauce, and then all here comes election integrity. Like three of my biggest issues, the Democratic Party or the left of the Democratic Party in the United States has just completely abandoned us, and that's why I'm never going to be back in that party. I'm never going to support anybody of that party, and it's sad to see people become party loyalists and actually being hypocritical of what's right and what's wrong. It shouldn't be a partisan issue when it comes to our elections. It shouldn't be a partisan issue when it comes to freedom of speech, freedom of press. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it is. And like you said, people are getting maligned for this, and it's just disgusting. And I feel very confident right now walking away from this party for good because they are truly disgusting. All the leadership there, everything they're doing, across the board. And we witnessed this in the last several years as we've been doing the show. When we first started the show, I thought they would be for election integrity. I thought they would fight for our civil liberties and not let them censor. I thought they would be more, better and be more peace advocates when it comes to foreign policy. And actually now we're watching somebody who's ready to come in, and Anthony Blinken, who's more of a war hawk, and he comes up very cryptic and nice and friendly because he goes on friggin' Sesame Street with Grover. And that is worse because you can do much damage, because what happens? Everybody goes back to sleep. They're already having brunch with David Doel, whatever his name is. Have a good time with that one, my friend.
Yeah, and it's, again, you guys, and I was talking to Glory Jones about this last night a little bit, like how, we have to become post-partisan, and that doesn't mean I'm going to change my left-wing ideology to reflect a right-wing ideology. That simply means we need to talk to people who we disagree with on other issues, but we may disagree with on some of these issues, and come back together and go fight the oligarchy together. And in order to achieve the things that I want in my ideology, it's not going to happen until we combat forces with some people and just fight the system. And we're not going to fight the system if people keep getting hoodwinked back into the Democratic Party or the Democratic establishment or the Republican establishment. I mean, there's just a war there too. It's both sides of the establishment. It's one establishment that continues and benefits off of us hating each other, off of us, having misinformation on certain sides. And it's like, that's why it's so difficult what we do, because we actually try to find the truth. We don't just like spin the same exact narrative that mainstream media does, only a little bit more progressive sounding. That's not what we do here. We look at the truth on both sides. That's why we have multiple sources from different areas, because it's not just one thing. And this is what the news is supposed to be like. I'm not trying to throw, accolades at us, but this is what the news is supposed to be: independent. It's supposed to be non-biased. It's supposed to be, even though I have a left-wing ideology, I'm comfortable calling them out when I see the authoritarianism encroaching it. I'm not going to not do that because I consider myself on the left, etc. So I think that's something that people need to understand. Like, yes, we all have implicit bias, but like when it comes to finding the truth, when it comes to saying the things that are happening, you cannot let that blind you in any way, shape, or form. If you're going to call yourself the real media, the fourth estate.
The fourth estate. I love when she uses these words. Fam, there's a good super chat here, and it's kind of funny is what you're talking about, and we were talking about this the other day. We were trying to make a case about, we're politically homeless. Where do we go from now? I was on a special Zoom call. DC, thank you for the super chat contribution. It's always appreciated on the couch. The LP, the Libertarian Party, has a socialist caucus at LibSoc Caucus. LP, fam.
They do.
I'm telling you, we have to maybe look into this down the road, because from what I understand, the modern day Libertarian Party has different caucuses, and there's people moving into that. They made more of an impact with one of their worst candidates they had in a long time, in Jo Jorgensen, and she wasn't half as good as Gary Johnson or what's his name, our guy, the most famous Green Party. Ron Paul was a great one too. They were Libertarian Party. They ran as Republicans, Libertarians as Republicans. What's his name? Ralph Nader. I mean, these were really good, strong candidates over here. Jo Jorgensen, and there's a lot of evidence that she was screwed with, and her votes were flipped in that election. So let's pay attention to that. And Castello says, thank you for the super chat contribution, Castello. It's always appreciated. The couch. Hashtag Misty Fiorella 2024. I will be their Secretary of State. I'll be the head of their... Hello, I'm out here to make a statement for President Misty and Vice President Fiorella.
That statement would have a lot of beep, 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 beep.
A statement from Fiorella.
Motherfucking
dear people, go
douche.
Beep yourself, you stupid beep.
Douche.
How dare you beep?
Gotta get Gloria Jones of Secretary of Defense in there,
Gloria
too.
Jones, what do you want? Don't we ask? We're pulling out. That's it. DC, thank you for the super chat contribution. He says the Libertarian primary was rigged. I was a delegate. DC, we'll talk about that. We got some information too.
Interesting.
What's her name? Soraya Foss told me about this shit.
Oh, did she?
She was in the party. She left the party as well. Another Libertarian told me about this stuff. I've had several Libertarian party members tell me. Now listen, what I understand is that they provided themselves an avenue to take on a Justin Amash. So if they can get him in, they can really elevate their candidacy. And I understand a lot of people, same thing happened with the Green Party. Now, Justin denied it and said, no, I'm walking. but Jesse Ventura wasn't provided that same type of platform from the Green Party. So I'd like to learn more. I understand there are caucuses, and I understand the modern-day Libertarian Party. When I talked to a lot of people in New Hampshire, I talked to a lot of Libertarians that were supporting Tulsi Gabbard. It's different nowadays. They are not the staunch, just neoconservative, right-wing, libertarian-minded, let the market work itself out kind of mentalities. They're different caucuses, and let me tell you something. They're a lot more organized than the Green Party. They have a lot more ballot access than 20-something odd states.
But
than
here's
this
the thing.
donkey who's isn't he really signing up again to run?
Yes, he is. Howie Hawkins is signing up for 2024. He already did.
Getting
But I
lost in
just
the
wanted to say
sauce.
real quick too, if we were able to unite all these parties, this is something, an idea that my friend Grumpy Birdie has brought up many times, that the anti-establishment population needs to combine into maybe one entity first. I believe, we're not, as human beings, we're going to have disagreements. So we're eventually going to split into a multi-party system, but we don't even have the capacity to win as a third party yet. So again, we need ranked choice voting, we need election integrity. But in order to do that, wouldn't it be beneficial if all these parties, whether it was the Green, the Peace and Freedom, came together and sort of agreed on 3 things? Let's say they were 3 things or 4 things or whatever, and then they, everything else didn't matter. They just ran a single candidate on this one thing, and maybe they could make it happen. But again, you would have to advocate for election integrity. You would have to completely just come together and all agree, which is literally a nearly impossible task to ask for people mostly on the left or in the anti-establishment
a lot of the Bernie
side.
people, whatnot, they're just fixated on Medicare for all, and I think there's
you can't just say dismiss that either.
No, but it's not the Medicare for all. It's well, what if we had a public option? I mean, isn't that a compromise and meeting halfway? Because when you do look into those polls, you'll see that people don't want their insurance going away. There are people who are saying, I don't want to eliminate insurance. See, that's the thing. A lot of people say, well, that's wrong.
Because it is. But I mean, it would have been that should have happened already. I mean, we've experienced a pandemic right now, and they haven't given us anything. So they're not going to give you anything. And why would you, if you go through that? It doesn't have to be Bernie's Medicare for all. It could be like a national healthcare system, and you could potentially buy more of whatever it is you want. That's how it exists in other countries like Canada. But if the public option thing leaves it to fail, it's basically like it leaves it an opportunity for the national thing to fail, for them to say, oh, well, it didn't work, let's scrap it off and continue, because you're still keeping the insurance companies on the table. We want to get those insurance lobbyists out of the way. That is why primarily I'm against a public option. And again, that should have already been a thing if they were going to do it. They're never going to do it.
Was trying to hold Barack Obama's feet to the fire about that whole thing. He was really pissed off about that. He was holding the line, and he just got thrust aside and then found himself redistricted and lost his seat. So it was kind of a shame. And this is a talk for another time, because we can go into this, because as I'm speaking to more people about this, I'm looking at a lot of polls. A lot of people are saying, why don't we go with the public option? And
you got to look at the polls.
If it works out, then we can transition into something what you're saying. A lot of people are saying no, we have to eliminate private insurance altogether.
Well, it's not going to work out. That's the thing. It's not going to work out.
This is a messy situation.
To me, there's literally no other, you give people health care. Every major country on fucking earth has fucking health care. Give people fucking health care. But that's not going to be my only thing that I'm advocating for. And I don't want just health care here with imperialism everywhere either.
Yeah.
That's something that I don't want. I'm not willing to compromise on Medicare or single payer system, whatever you want to call it, single payer system. But I'm also not going to compromise on imperialism, free speech, and everything else. So I don't know if that's an anomaly, whatever. I'm not going to compromise on that. I'll tell you that. And a lot of the people on the left will run completely away from you if you compromise on. That's not the issue to compromise on. I don't think you can compromise on other things, but single payer, especially when we've seen the damage a pandemic does and how much money people are paying.
Eliminating insurance is one of those things where a lot of people are going to say that's just very
but they're wrong. I mean, the data is there against it. And like I said, we could talk about this forever.
Yeah. Well, no matter what, when it comes to protecting our civil liberties and having fair elections, those are the basis of a democracy. If we don't have those things, we can't have single-payer health care. We can't get a Green New Deal. We have to have those first. And that's not like a big thing that we have to go dive in to change. It's pretty plain and simple. You know what I'm saying? We make sure that our civil liberties are protected. We don't have a security state spying on us. We don't have a security state censoring us. And we make sure that our elections are free, transparent, with audits. Johnny, do we have to stay at home?
Breaking news. It says, Angelica, I saw Angelica's tweet. It says, Breaking with coronavirus cases showing no signs of slowing down in LA County, health officials on Friday, today, announced a temporary stay-at-home order banning most gatherings, set to take effect on Monday. So, here's the article. It says LA County officials announced three-week stay-at-home order banning most gatherings. The temporary order will be in place for 3 weeks through December 20th and will allow essential and emergency workers and those securing or providing essential or permitted services to leave their homes. So, residents are advised to stay at home as much as possible, always wear a face covering over their nose and mouth when they're outside the household and around others.
So are they closing down malls and nail salons? Because I was just there and they weren't closed.
No, this is set to start on Monday, is what it said.
And this was announced today, right?
This is announced today.
Because if they are closing those people down again, those people who haven't been protesting or haven't said anything are going to get really pissed off.
Yeah. And I wonder what Pasadena's response is going to be to this when it comes to the outdoor dining. If they say, you know what I'm saying? They're trying.
Oh, yeah, because I drove through and people were dining outdoors on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. No. I mean, they Pasadena, like I said, Gordo, his fat ass, he ain't going to ban outdoor restaurants.
So here's what it says. It says gatherings. All public and private gatherings of individuals not in your household are prohibited, except for church services and protests, what are constitutionally protected rights. Okay?
Got it.
Occupancy limits at various businesses. All individuals at these sites are required to wear face coverings and keep at least 6 feet of distance. Essential retail, 35% maximum occupancy. Non-essential retail includes indoor malls, 20% maximum occupancy. Personal care services, 20% maximum occupancy.
That's not
libraries, 20% maximum occupancy. Fitness centers operating outdoors, 50% maximum occupancy. Museum, galleries, zoos, aquariums, botanical gardens operating outdoors, 50% maximum occupancy. Mini golf, batting cages, go-kart racing operating outdoors, 50% maximum occupancy. Outdoor recreation activities, all which require face coverings, except for swimming and distancing. Beaches, trails, and parks remain open. Gatherings at these sites with members outside your household are prohibited. Golf courses, tennis courts, pickleball, archery ranges, skate parks, bike parks, and community gardens remain open for individuals or members of a single household. Pools that serve more than one household may open only for a regulated lap swimming with one person per lane. Drive-in movies, events, car parades are permitted, provided occupants in each car are members of one household. All schools and day camps remain open, adhering to reopening protocols. K-12 schools and day camps with an outbreak, 3 cases or more over 14 days should close for 14 days.
So they're all going to be closed.
So it looks like this only affects the restaurants,
malls,
and
gyms.
Well, it affects
all
everywhere.
The businesses that they're saying that their occupancy has to be
well,
less
it definitely
than 50%.
affects them still.
Right. Closed non-essential business/activities, playgrounds, and card rooms.
At least they're not closing them because that would screw.
Card rooms are closed.
But
no,
still,
they're saying playgrounds and card rooms are closed. Are they closing casinos then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
and they
so
were trying to,
but here's
about,
the thing.
You know,
by imposing the max, like the occupancy, which is like half or less, that affects these businesses too, because they're gonna have to push people out. This is the holiday season, right? So this is where they make their most money. Now you're telling people that they can't all come, like
Amazon's
they're gonna lose money.
Rich.
Amazon's just gonna get richer. I mean, this
Jeff
is
Bezos. Rich.
He's trillionaire. He's on his way. He's there.
What did this asshole say? Wait, click on that tweet over there. 2 months ago,
it was projected that 1 in every 880 LA County residents were infected with COVID-19. Now it's estimated that it's 1 in every 145. We have to act now to slow the spread.
All right, this has been going on for what? Since April? March?
Oh, we're allowed to protest Garcetti, though, so...
Well, the whole thing was, let me tell you something, though. They weren't, it was funny because protests were allowed, but churches were closed, and they were going crazy about that. See, even New York,
now protests and churches are both allowed.
Now they're both allowed.
How is church...
What's that?
How is a church allowed, like, in a restaurant? Is it, again, we looked at the numbers. The vast majority of the cases where infection occurred did not happen in restaurants.
Well, it's saying churches and protests are constitutional rights.
Well...
A protest is a constitutional right. I guess a church is
freedom of religion.
You don't need to pray. But you don't need to have a. Okay, never mind. You don't need to have a freaking place open where people are conducting a sermon and stuff. You could pray at your house.
But I think they caught themselves in a little bit of a quagmire by saying it's okay to protest, but it's not okay to pray. And that was kind of where they, you know,
it's okay to pray, but you don't have to pray in a house like.
Well, I'm saying, I'm saying
harped on it,
constitutionally, if you say it's okay for them to go out and protest, they were saying that you have to let us go and preach. And let me tell you something, they were having ceremonies outside, and they were still arresting people.
That's
running
ridiculous.
Those ceremonies.
See, that's
we saw
ridiculous.
That too as well.
Yeah, that's
so they
ridiculous.
really kind of put themselves in this quagmire. And also, there's a big Jewish community in New York who has been relentless going after Cuomo for all this shit and shutting down their synagogues and saying, no way. So I mean, once again, this is a whole quagmire. But let's talk about the fact that we've been doing this since March or April. What have the lockdowns done? What have they done? Have they done anything? We're back here at the same thing now. They're saying it's worse. What the hell did I stay at home for fucking the last 7 months for? Excuse my French for cursing, Mom, but what am I doing over here?
Yeah, it's
seriously,
and the economy is tanking.
What is the end goal?
I think the goal is to tank the economy and make these corporations richer, so we all become dependent on them. And so you screw the American
tell me
people.
a lie that makes sense.
Tell me.
What would the lie they say what they're trying to do? What's their goal? What would you tell a logical person? Wait, we're really trying to do this because we're trying to
flatten the curve.
Flatten the curve. Again,
I don't buy it anymore.
What's that,
I'm
Johnny?
sorry.
They would say to slow the spread.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. We have to act now to slow the spread.
Yeah. But it's like, I don't buy it anymore, though, because who is this helping now at this point? It's helping corporations.
This is what we've heard since March or April.
They're trying to get rid of small businesses.
Yeah.
They're doing a good job at it.
They're trying to get rid of poor people in California.
Yep. That's what it seems like is happening.
There's too many people here.
Yep.
Throwing us out. Johnny, anything else?
Nope.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for sticking with us. That was a long show, so thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for all of you who went over to Rokfin. You guys got to go over there. ROKFIN. Rock with a KFIN and sign up for free. And thank you to our Patreons. We'll be back on what's today? Friday. We'll be back on Monday.
Yeah, and we'll see.
Maybe you got a fee rant on the weekend.
Maybe, yeah.
We'll see. If you want a fee rant, go to Twitter and say, Fee, give us a rant. Let us know. Fee will do a rant, and we'll get back at you. We have to talk as a team, but maybe next week we might be going to Vegas to see what's going on there as far as their hearing. If we can get some access, I'll call my friend Lynn Lombardi in Vegas, and we'll hit her up, and we'll see what's going on over there. So maybe we can catch that hearing and get some more information. But we'll be posted to what's going on with the elections across the country, especially here in California, too. And we'll let you know what's what, okay? So for Pasta Jardula,
Fiorella,
Johnny Sue on those 1s and 2s.
Convo out, mofos.